church that thrives in crisis has been our focal point. We don't want to simply survive this pandemic, we want to thrive. And today we come to the fifth out of 5 lessons on the church that thrives in crisis. And the principle that we're looking at today is the 5th principle, and that is the church that thrives in crisis fulfills its mission like it never dreamed possible. And let me explain that. A crisis is a time of upheaval. A crisis is a defining moment in anyone's life, in everyone's life, either for good or for evil. And this is a season when God is bringing to the surface the felt needs of people like never before. A crisis is a time of extraordinary challenge that provides us with extraordinary opportunities. So we come today to this 5th and final lesson, and it comes to us from Ephesians chapter 6, verses 19 and 20. It's where Paul, having exhorted the church to pray with all prayer at all times for all the saints with all perseverance, then he ends that exhortation by saying, "Pray also for me, that when I open my mouth, I might preach boldly the mystery of the gospel of Christ." So here Paul ends this whole teaching with the end game of our mission. The end game of our mission is that every man, woman, and child on earth might hear the gospel. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached to all nations, and then the end will come. Matthew 24, verse 14. But today now we're looking at this scripture. Paul asking prayer for himself. Because even though he's in a crisis, he's in a prison cell. And he might not have known it at the time, but he would spend the rest of his days under house arrest. He would never get out from under being a prisoner of Rome, and yet he took advantage of every opportunity. In many ways, this pandemic has made us feel like prisoners. We're all in solitary confinement, so to speak, stuck in our homes, and we're not able to do all those things that we normally do. But my friend, don't lose sight of the end. We are in the Great Commission, the greatest commission that's ever been given. And these are days of unprecedented opportunity to meet the needs, the felt needs of people. People's mortality is more on their thinking than in any other time. You get a sore throat, you cough 3 times in a row. Do I have this virus? We get a chill. Do I have a fever? People are thinking my life could end. This is the time like we've never had before to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. Oh, I know offerings are probably down. Your congregation may be shrinking in some ways. I know that on the surface, by what we normally keep score by, our scores are way down. But brothers and sisters, the opportunities have never been higher. We have opportunities like we've never had before. Now, let me just remind us before we summarize this whole session on the church that thrives in crisis. We've looked at 5 principles. Principle number 1, the church that thrives in crisis sees unseen, unknown causes behind the visible effects. The church that thrives in crisis doesn't just read the news. Oh, so many have been infected with COVID. Oh, we're now up to 26 million people without jobs. All those data. Yeah, the data's fine. But behind all the data, there's a heavenly place where history is being played out. It's the realm between heaven and earth where the real fight is going on, and the church that thrives in crisis sees the hidden causes behind the visible effects. Second, the church that thrives in crisis is the church that enters into a battle-ready mindset. We throw off peacetime living lifestyle and we enter into a wartime living lifestyle. These are challenging days. The war is on. We are more aware of spiritual forces. Never in my lifetime have I seen demons, high-ranking demons, lock onto anything the way they've locked onto COVID-19. And brothers and sisters, this is a wake-up call for the church to put on the whole armor of God. And we've been doing that. Principle number 3, the church that thrives in crisis shifts from relying on authority given by people or denominations or degrees that we earn from school, and learns to rely on spiritual authority that we have in Jesus Christ. That's why Ephesians chapter 6 is so relevant for us. When the Lord sent out his disciples, he gave them 2 things. The first deals with principle 3 and the next with principle 4, but he gave them authority. And God has given you authority, and I remind you of that today. Walk in your kingdom authority. Principle number 4, the church that thrives in crisis becomes a supernatural church. Sees the supernatural, prays the supernatural, receives the supernatural, experiences the supernatural. Another way to say it, the church that thrives in crisis begins praying prayers that only God could answer.